Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Vanderlei Silva to defeat Mirko Krokop. Talking about the rematch. All right, I'm here to talk about Puja Tomar versus Rayanne Amanda dos Santos. Puja's making her UFC debut. She's an Indian fighter who is 30 years old with a record of 8-4. 6 of the 8 wins come by TKO or knockout, which is exceptional for a female fighter and probably even a male fighter. And on the flip side, all 4 of her losses come by finish, which is also pretty exceptional. I'll get to those losses in a minute or so, but she's a girl that has one distinct trait, and it's that she's short. She's short. Sure Dog has her listed as 4'9". I don't think she's quite 4'9". I think they got that wrong. Probably closer to 5 feet or 5'1". I've seen her listed at, but I think she's somewhere in between. And regardless, I've never seen her be the taller woman in a fight. Never. There's been some where she's close to even, but I still think she's shorter. And there's others, in particular her losses, where she looks like the smaller woman. She's that's a story of her losses. All 4 of them are a combination of physicality and size and grappling. She is outmatched grappling and physically against the girls that beat her. They are Tiffany Teo, who got her out of it with an armbar. That's a very good fighter, by the way. She lost to Jihin Rajuan, who got her with a triangle choke. Another good fighter, submission artist. And Stamp Fairtex, who is a Muay Thai fighter over in ONE FC and a beast of an athlete, too. And she was able to get Puja out of there via TKO on the ground. The Muay Thai fighter had too much for her. Not that she's pure Muay Thai. I mean, it was an MMA fight, but she dominated her and TKO'd her from the back mount. And the other loss was early in her career to this girl, Hannah Kempf. She was armbarred there. The girl Hannah may not have turned into a good fighter. I think she cut her career short after her first loss or whatever. But the girl was twice the size of Puja, and she dominated her. Spent the whole fight in the full mount. And then in round 3, she finally got the armbar that she had been threatening. Now, all 4 of these losses are over 4.5 years ago. And again, like I mentioned, at least 3 of them are good fighters. But it's still no coincidence that she's been finished in all 4 of her losses. So my official prediction is Rayanne Amanda dos Santos wins by submission in round 2 or 3, maybe. Second half of the fight. But I do think if she is able to take down Puja Tomar, she is going to have a good night. At the very worst, I think a decision victory. But again, when you start plugging in records, I think a finish would be most likely if Amanda is to win. Or Rayanne. Or Dos Santos. But Rayanne's got 7 losses as well. She's got 1 TKO loss, which is the loss I'd like to address here, considering the threat of Puja Tomar. But her 1 TKO loss wasn't even a legit TKO. She wasn't knocked out or anything. She was hurt and roughed up, but it was stopped because she had a cut on her tongue or inside her mouth or whatever. And she wanted to continue but wasn't allowed to. That was also a loss to Isabella de Padua, former UFC fighter, for whatever that's worth. But yeah, no matter what the context is and whatever else, she wasn't knocked out here, and I still think she's healthy, standing up to power. And a little supporting detail for that is she fought Denise Gomes on the Contender Series, and she lost by decision. Gomes, I thought, was the fresher, better striker in the second half of the fight. I thought it's not like she was gasping for air or anything, Rayanne, but she was a step behind in the end there to Denise Gomes. And Denise Gomes is a potent finisher as well. She's got some excellent power in her hands, and Rayanne was able to stand tall against that power. So I do think she'd be able to handle Puja's offense. Certainly the power, and of course, I think she's got a much bigger danger on the ground for Puja Tomar. I think if she's able to get on top of Puja, yeah, she's the much bigger threat than Puja might be on the feet, because Rayanne can strike very well as well. Rayanne was submitted once, and it was to Alexia Tainara. It was a rear naked choke in round 2. That girl's a good fighter, and I think she's going to be in the UFC very soon. She's a very good fighter. That was a fight where Rayanne, she might have gassed a little bit, but things turned around very quickly there. Once in the second round, deep into the second round, Tainara turned things around, was able to get up. I forget how she got up, but once she got on top of Rayanne in reverse position, that was pretty much it. Rayanne was looked a little lost, and she ended up getting choked. But that was 4 years ago, and again, that's to a very good fighter in Alexia Tainara, who is an athletic threat like Puja Tomar is not. Uh, and her last loss to Talita Alankar, Rayanne dos Santos, that was a split decision loss. Uh, I think she definitely should have won that fight. It was close, but I do think she won round 3, and she definitely lost round 2 and won round 1. But I think she definitely should have gotten that nod. Really close, but not close enough in my opinion. And her best victory is probably over Jillian DeCourcy in her last fight. Her last win, I should say, before the Talita Alankar fight. She beat her by 5-round decision to win the Invicta Championship. And even though it wasn't the most challenging fight, she still looked good, and she was dominant for 5 rounds. And her best submission is probably over this girl, Lindsay Garblad, that beat her by tight decision, majority decision earlier in her career. And then she rematched her and armbarred her in like a minute. And the decision loss, by the way, was pretty close, but it was just one of those top position type of decisions. So, yeah, she's been through more, Rayanne dos Santos, a much better level of competition. Even if she doesn't have too many great victories, I think she would have had a nice one against Talita Alankar in the last fight. But I think she's going to be too much for Puja Tomar. Puja Tomar is going to run into a physical wall and a grappling wall, and I think it's going to be here in her debut against Rayanne Amanda dos Santos. As for the bets, right now there are no even over underlines, and Rayanne dos Santos is a 3-1 favorite. So I'm not going to bet on her. I'm just going to wait for the props and waste some money, some sprinkles on props. Uh, I think a finish would be more likely for Rayanne dos Santos, and I do think if she got the finish, it would be down the stretch in the second half of the fight. So I'll be looking to throw small sprinkles on that. And for Puja Tomar, I do think if she wins this fight, despite her winning 6 of her 8 by knockout, it's probably by decision here against Rayanne dos Santos. So at plus 230 odds, maybe you can get the decision line, or I can get the decision line at something nice and waste some money on it. But yeah, this is just one where I'm wasting a few sprinkles and letting the sprinkles battle it out. And hopefully I win fucking $12 on my big 50-cent bet. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.